Boys, in the meantime, let's liven this place up. Let's bring a bit of juice to
Here
the
we
party.
go.
We're very lucky to be joined by 38 caps for the Queensland Reds, 39 for the Sun Rules and Super Rugby, and still going around in Japan as well. Ed Quirk. Hello, Quirky.
How we doing, lads?
Good, mate. How's so where are you right now?
I'm back in Brizzy, just at my joint in Clayfield, so back home now, which is nice.
Bundy rum. Yes.
Yeah, it's just this is my happy place, safe place. So,
So before we get a bit loose here, Ed, you're still going around, going back to Japan soon?
yep, yeah, heading back in September, just ticking the ticket over, which has been good. So 10 years now in Japan, so knees are barely hanging on.
Mate, how they let you back each week is beyond me.
Oh, but mate, I don't even get let in my own house, so that's why I keep going back. So,
Wani, mate, thanks for coming on. It's always a pleasure to see your face. We had a little Reds reunion last week, mate. Good to catch up with a few of the boys. Is anyone in particular that you enjoyed seeing again?
mate, it was good. It was good to catch up with the boys. Obviously, different part of life now. A lot of us have got kids and responsibilities, so couldn't really carry on like back in the day. Pickle was there for about 20 minutes and then said he had work, but I know that Mrs. called him because his phone was blowing up. But that was good. Look, it was good to see some familiar faces. Obviously, I've been away for 10 years now in Japan, and look, there was a couple of standouts still. Obviously, Bowie Robinson always puts on a good form. He was selling his ebook out the front of Suncorp.
Anything for $1.
So anything for $1. So, no, it was good. We had a good time. Again, good to catch up with the boys.
Quirky, I was thinking back to, I was telling the boys about your change room dynamic with old Bowie. Can you tell us a few of the stories? Like the tuna cans in the locker just gets me every time.
Yeah, obviously he doesn't have the best rig going around in Aussie rugby or world rugby, but he was a sucker for a sale. So he used to buy about 100 tins of tuna from Aldi, and obviously didn't want to use a spoon, so he'd crack the tin and use the tin. So he'd be eating. It would be 40-degree day. He'd be eating chili tuna and have about 5 shots of black hot coffee mixed in with it, mate. So imagine sitting next to someone like that as well as looking at it. So that's sort of why I left the Reds early.
But he used to leave the tins when he was done in his locker. Like
That's
he wouldn't
horrific.
put them in the bin, and it was horrific. And then he went through
Shower
the stage.
steak.
Yeah, he went through the stage, the shower steak, and this is ridiculous. He went off protein shakes. And he just had this thing where he'd train and he'd just have like protein like steaks. So we'd all be in the ice baths and in the showers with our protein shakes. And Bowie's just in the shower holding a 3-day-old steak that's been in his locker. It's just getting saturated in the shower, just hoeing into the steak. Instead of a protein.
It was either corn beef or blade steak as well.
That's one of one. Jeez.
That's not
Quirky, I was thinking about our game against the Lions. Yeah, I don't know if you remember this, but Bowie got quite badly knocked out. You're probably pretty stoked. But remember he'd organised, like, we had a month off and we had a month of being on the piss organised. And Bowie had organised the lunch the next day. And I remember as he's going down, like, it was really bad, like ambulance on the field. And Rocket's like walking over, like, geez, I hope the lunch is still on tomorrow. No one's giving any care in the world about Barney. And then he's ambulanced off. And after the game, we're like, oh, we should probably check in, see how Bowie's going. Check your phone. He's at Fridays already. He's gone to the hospital, walked straight back out, and he's at the bar at Fridays, bought himself a beer, and he's going, where are you? I'm waiting, hurry up.
Because he needed someone to shout when we got there. So, yeah, mate, I remember that very vividly. I was right near him. He had a big head clash with Vunipola, and he was asleep, really badly asleep. So, again, not good to see, but if anyone on earth could bounce back from a severe concussion, it was Barney, and he wasn't going to miss the party.
Quirky, we'll come back to a bit of footy for the time being. What have you made of this so far, and I guess in particular the back row battle?
Mate, I was just watching here, mate, Tom Curry. He's just on another level tonight. If you're thinking about, tough footy, mate, he's mincing blokes. Him and Ellis Genge, mate, they're just they're the difference for me at the moment. I'm heavily looking at the breakdown at the moment, and I think we're getting schooled there a bit, getting a bit bullied, and we just sort of, you can't have that and the Lions tour especially. So I think that'll be hotly looked at for this second game. But mate, those two blokes have been standout and been bullying our boys, I reckon.
Mate, just from not so much a Lions question, but probably just your own personal experience and sort of where you've been in footy. I know you just said this is 10 years in Japan. Probably since me and Tyler finished school, which have been, probably nearly 10 years ago, there's been a lot of Aussie boys sort of finishing up here, maybe doing 20s and then going across. How is the standard of footy over in Japan at the moment? I know there's the 3 leagues going on and there's sort of a bit of disparity in and amongst it, but there's some world-class players going over there, and the players like Dylan Riley at the moment is probably my biggest one. Was pretty good in Australia, didn't really sort of get a crack, and went over, got his eligibility, and now he's sort of locked down that starting position in the national squad over there. So,
yeah, mate, that was sort of one of the reasons, like a bit of background, was obviously playing some good super before I left and got to the Sunwolves, had a lot of Kiwi coaches and Japanese coaches, and I remember the first 2 weeks, they were like, mate, your skill's shit house. Like, it's terrible. And I was sort of like a bit taken back and sort of like, righto. And then as games were going and I played a bit of top league, just the speed of play and the skill that a lot of these boys have across the park, it's red hot. And and they're good at building guys too, It's interesting you bring up like Dylan Riley and Benny Gunter and that, I think Australia has, if you're not earmarked at school, then you're done with. And these boys have gone over. They've been given time, and now look at them. They're made like world beaters. And I think Japan gives a lot of blokes time to mature and find their game. Big skill game, big contact game. So I think a lot of those boys flourish. And then if you're not really getting a crack, a lot of guys shoot over and then make their way. And look, sometimes it's harder to get out than in Japan. As you can tell by me, I would have got rid of me years ago. But anyway.
Quirky obviously bumped into you a couple of weeks ago at the Lions. We probably both had a bit too many at that point. But what do you think sort of they've been good at this tour, and what do you think the Wallabies sort of need to do if they want to come away with a couple of wins? Well, this game's looking unlikely, but moving forward.
Yeah, look, I think we can't. I think the hardest thing over the last few years with the Wallabies is we've had to like reinvent the game with like the way we play with all the different coaches and stuff. So I think we probably come into this wanting to this is how we're going to beat them, where we probably just need to play our own brand of footy. I know it's going to be physical against these fellas, and look, I think it's hard too, as Frizz knows. I know he played a lot off the pine, but the more games you play, the better you are. So like these blokes are 7 games in, so cohesion, they're a bit battle hardened. And I think the Wallabies, had the shake up against Fiji, and so they need to be better game 2, and just come with their own tactics, not tactics where I reckon they think they can beat the Lions with it, just their own stuff.
Mate, there's no way you came up with that answer on your own. Did you read that? Was that in the paper or something this week?
No, well, my iPad's just in front of me with ChatGPT, so it's just blowing me in. So.
The bundy's back in.
Quint, can I tell the story of how we first met?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Because I'd like to hear your perspective too. So, Quirky, we go away to Queensland Schoolboys, and what would the year be, Quint? 2008? Quirky's the big dog, GPS rugby star. He's an absolute Adonis. And Queensland won. First day of the comp. He flipped someone on their head, gets red card and gets suspended. And the whole concern about the whole tournament was that, Ed Quirk wouldn't be in the Aussie Schoolboys. He's going to be suspended. And they had a big judicial hearing. He flew his manager in. This is a guy in grade 12 to get him off the hook. Anyway, this is all going on. I'm sort of hearing this secondhand in the Queensland twos. I'm like, geez, this Ed Quirk guy's an absolute wanker, which, to be fair, is still true to this day. We walked past him on the stairs, and I'll never forget this. You stood at the top of the stairs, and I was coming up the stairs, and I put my hand out to say, "G'day, how are you, mate?" And you just, mate, complete brush me, walked straight, didn't even acknowledge that I was there.
No recollection of that, mate, at all. Now, look, I do remember that. Like, there are 2 things went through my head. I sort of thought he doesn't have a pen and paper to get my John Doe, and then I thought, mate, look at this poor little kid. Like, because we were staying in the dorms down in Canberra, I thought he was just some little like Canberra country kid, like grade 6 or 7, who was boarding, and I was sort of like, mate, this poor bloke's off to get boarding dinner, like parents are paying for him to board, and then turns out I ran into him later on, and I was just like, mate, this bloke is actually playing for Queensland too. What a gimme for this poor fella. So then, but we made amends, and he tells this big story, and everyone's just like, mate, terrible story, roll on. So that's Friz's sort of claim to fame, that he runs that one through the gauntlet until everyone meets me, and they're like, mate, you're a great bloke. And I was just like,
Quirky, can I touch on the Sunwolves and that experience? I personally love watching the Sunwolves back in the Saturday afternoon, the Sun, Japan. How was that experience, and would you love to see some like a Japan team back in Super Rugby one day?
massively. I reckon there was sort of a miss, or from a marketing point of view, that was a bit of a miss for getting rid of them. Going it every year was awesome. That's probably the most fun footy I've ever had. There was such a mixed bag. We couldn't, Georgians, Fijians, Japanese, everyone under the one umbrella. So it's still probably the best footy that I've enjoyed and played, getting to travel the world. We're in South Africa's conference there. Heard you boys talking about South Africa before jumping on, and we were 6 weeks there at a time. So it was awesome, mate. And look, I think Japan's hurting not having them having that experience in Super anymore.
Can you tell the story about the Sunwolves trip to Brisbane with you and your old man and your brother, or is that best left untold?
That's probably best left untold.
Okay, no worries.
Enjoyed ourselves a little bit too much. And it was a bit of a family affair.
Okay, leave it there. Quirky, I guess you seem like a man, pretty colourful character. What are some of your stories on tour with this man Frisbee over the years? Anything you can share?
Oh, look, it was always fun first, footy second for Frizz. We sort of footy was third, really. Look, mate, we had a young group, we had good cohesion, and we ran off, culture was king. So we had some epic trips in Africa where, it was 28 guys who were double D, really, throughout those weeks. And, look, it worked. It worked. We, bunch of young boys having fun.
I don't think we ever won a game in South Africa.
Well, it didn't really matter. Like, I'm talking off the field, we won. So,
third half.
Yeah, we were more just, let's get this game done and dusted before, and then, let's enjoy the real tour. So, I had some rippers there with Frizz and the boys, just pinch your moment stuff, boys from Brizzy over in Cape Town, and, early morning sort of, what was it, Bailey's in the coffee, Frizz?
Yeah.
That was always a good one, just to tick us off before we got into it. So, some of the best times of your life.
I'll never forget that moment. I won't say his name, but we'd had a pre-planned drink the first couple of days in Cape Town, and so we had a good first couple of days, and then it went too far, and the coaches weren't happy, and the guy who was our captain at the time stood up in the team meeting 9 a.m. and said, "All right, boys, everyone's got to get serious now. It's time to stop drinking." He was holding a coffee in his hand at the time that had a shot of Bailey's in the bottom of it because he was so hungover. So I won't mention his name. Quirky will know who he was. But it was seriously like that. And, you get off the plane and you put your bag in the hotel, throw your jeans on straight out and into them. Good times, Quink.
Oh, and that's what I'm hoping. The Lions stuff, obviously against, we're talking about that Brizzy game against the Reds, and that obviously there wasn't as much atmosphere as we were sort of hoping for. But from what you can see tonight around Brizzy and all that, it'd be a bad day to be a beer. It's good to sort of see that sort of footy come back in over the ditch to us. I think that's what's been missing over the last few years is that that real culture around footy and that good time that it can bring.
And finally, before we let you go, Quirky, I guess for you, you're going to keep playing till you can't anymore? What's the plan?
Well, I came home and had a bit of a clean out on my knee, and I've lost about 80% of my meniscus. So until that 20% gives up, I'm just ticking them over.
Do you reckon you stay in Japan upon retirement? Like you've enjoyed it that much, you'll come home?
Oh, look, I've got 3 young kids here in Brisbane, and they stay here, so I'll definitely be heading back over. Nah, mate. Yeah, look. I've loved it over there. I've made a good life for myself over there. Got a lot of good connections at the teams I've played, and I'm doing a bit of coaching while I'm back here in Brisbane for Brisbane Grammar. And look, I enjoy that side. That sort of keeps you engaged in footy still, and look, I've been asked by a couple of teams I played for that once I'm done playing if I'd help out. So I'll come back and reconnect here for a bit and see where it takes me. But Japan's sort of second home, really. So I'll be looking forward to maybe heading back over to help out where I can.
Good to hear. Frizz, anything more for the great man?
No, thank you, mate. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ed Quirk. Appreciate you coming on.
I'm sure you do, mate. I'm sure you do.
Enjoy your rest of your time off, and we'll see you very soon. Thank you, Ed Quirk, jumping on today on the live stream.